That's a great excuse. I need my me time. The way that I describe awareness is one, becoming knowledgeable of oneself. When we start to see what different things trigger us, what people trigger us, things that we react to, and that reaction causes some form of discomfort, that's when we start to become aware of things. As this awareness grows, we develop what I like to call a scar bubble. What this bubble is or consists of is anything and everything that has either triggered us in the past or may trigger us in the future. It's usually surrounded by the certain situations or certain people or places that have triggered us before and that we want to not happen to us again or trigger us again. So we develop a scar bubble. This bubble holds everything that we want to usually heal. We want to transcend, we want to grow from, because we know that these things are mostly past situations that have caused us some sort of negative or uncomfortable reaction within ourselves or resolution. It was a negative resolution. It didn't come to something that we expected it to come to. So anytime that we think about it, or anytime that we feel that it's going to happen again, we try to avoid it. And we develop this bubble, and the bubble becomes kind of like our excuse. It's almost like a trap of self-healing, because we want to heal just what already consists within this bubble. We don't want to add more to it. As awareness grows and we start to collect all of these different situations, people, stories, identities, and we collect them and we put them in this box, and we say to ourselves that these things we know are the things that cause us negative emotions or negative reactions. And we try to protect that. We try to protect our scar bubble because we don't want anything else to be added in. We just want to be able to heal what already consists within that bubble. Now, there's something that kind of happens, though, as we are healing what is already in our bubble, and that is the excuse that we use as self-healing. It's a trap. We often fall into this trap of self-healing. We start to avoid certain situations, certain people, just because we don't want to get hurt. And I don't mean that we should go out there and put ourselves in uncomfortable situations so that we can grow. Self-healing is true. Self-healing is needed. But sometimes we get away with it once and we think that, oh, well, we can get away with it again. And then we start to just use it as an excuse, even if we are not self-healing anymore. Or if we're not using that time to self-heal. So now it becomes an excuse. It becomes a trap. And we think that we are avoiding this situation because of our healing. We start to convince ourselves that by saying this or by avoiding this, I am healing. Because I know that that situation will trigger me. I know that that person will cause a reaction within me that won't be comfortable. So we avoid certain things so that we can't or won't add more to our scar bubble. But that only works for so long, because now we're just developing a different comfort zone. I'm not saying that you would have to go out there and face your demons in order to heal. But just because you're avoiding the things that trigger you doesn't mean that other things won't come up in your life that will trigger you. The point of awareness is not just to become aware of your reactions to certain situations and certain people, but it's also to be able to be in those situations without having that reaction. Awareness isn't just, well, now I know that these things cause these reactions, so I'm going to avoid them, and I'm just going to stay in my scar bubble. I'm going to just heal that for now and avoid all of this so that I don't add more to the trauma that I already am dealing with, and I won't have to react more. That is a phase, and that is something that people need to go through. Sometimes we do need that break. Sometimes we do need to avoid certain things so that we can focus on ourselves. But watch and be aware when it becomes an excuse, when it becomes a trap. When you think that you're doing this so that you can self-heal and you can get rid of the scar bubble that you already have so you won't develop any more trauma, be careful that you don't mistake that as self-healing when really it's just an excuse to be avoidant. You want to be able to face these situations again without reacting. So if you keep avoiding and saying to myself, well, you know what? I know it's just not going to work. I will never be able to be around that person or to be at that place again because of what happened here and then. But what you're doing is you're just avoiding it. You're saying to your scar bubble that it's okay to be there instead of healing it. You're like, I know that you're there. I know that this is what happens. I'm protecting you. I don't want anything to be added in, but at the same time, you're not healing it because you're letting those reactions still persist, even in those certain situations. You want to be able to get rid of all reactions, all of those negative or uncomfortable reactions to these certain situations that have to do with your self-healing. That's part of your self-healing. You start to learn what it is that triggers me, who triggers me, what places trigger me. And people figure, well, the way to deal with that, since I learned that, I brought awareness to this is what triggers me, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to avoid it. And that works in the beginning. It does. You develop this nice little comfort zone where you finally feel, because now that you brought awareness to these things that trigger you, you finally feel that avoiding them is okay because you're doing it for your self-healing. And it is. That phase happens. But we get lost in that self-healing excuse. Because now we're not self-healing anymore. We have avoided these places now. We have avoided these people. So now we just developed a different comfort zone. I know that this is what triggers me. I'm going to avoid it. So now that you have avoided it multiple times, you run into the trap of self-healing. And what that does for you is keeps you stuck. Because you're just avoiding these situations, but you aren't generally healing the reaction to these situations. You just know, and you brought awareness to the fact that this is what causes this discomfort. So you avoid it. And by doing so, you feel that you are healing by avoiding it. But real healing comes when you basically put awareness on top of that awareness. Awareness to the fact that you react this way was 1. Now you have to put awareness to the fact that you have reacted at all. That this negative reaction has come in at all. You know what causes the negative reaction. Now it's time to take a step back, leap back 1 more, and see why you're reacting at all. So that if the situation presents itself again, the reaction won't be there. So now you don't have to be avoidant of the situation anymore, of this person anymore, of this place anymore. You have gotten rid of it. So it's basically bringing awareness to awareness. Don't get caught in that trap of self-healing. A lot of people do, and they feel that it's okay because, well, I'm self-healing. I'm being avoidant. I'm protecting my scar bubble by not putting these people or these places or these situations into my life anymore. I'm self-healing. But that's a trap sometimes because it's only the first step. The second step is bringing in that awareness to the fact that you reacted in the first place, to reacting at all, so that you don't have to develop a different comfort zone anymore. You're just changing your comfort zone. But you want to be able to be out of your comfort zone without the reaction to the discomfort, if that makes sense. You want to have the peace with the discomfort. The knowledge that you know that this situation causes a discomfort within, now you can watch that discomfort reaction and grow from there. So be aware and watch the trap of self-healing. We don't see it often because we think that self-healing is a good thing. That's a great excuse. I need my me time. And it is. But only if you are self-healing. Only if you're actually taking in the time and the work to do a double take of self-healing. Don't just protect your scar bubble. Don't just say, well, I know that this is what causes this and this is what causes that, so I'm going to just avoid everything. Don't try to avoid the world. The world is going to come to you the more you resist. Don't push out people and places. Well, sometimes you can push those things out. You don't have to stand around and get hurt, but that person will come in another form. That situation will come in another form because the world is coming to you. Do not resist the world by saying that you're self-healing. Watch the trap. Become aware of the trap of self-healing. You have the first step of that awareness of this is why I react and this is how I react because of X, Y, and Z. But now let's try to watch the reaction as it happens, before it happens, while it is happening, so that we can be more at peace with it. We can be okay with it. That's the next step. A lot of people just stay in that self-healing phase where they know they have their scar bubble, they know what is causing their scar bubble, and they just want to protect that scar bubble. They don't want any outer bad things to come in. They don't want any outer influence. They just want to stay in their scar bubble and protect it and don't let anything mess that up. I have to heal this first before I can heal anything else. Do a double awareness. Awareness has multiple levels. And becoming aware of the initial reaction while it is happening is the next step. Is a form of true awareness. So just watch as you self-heal. Don't just self-heal. Watch as it happens.